Hey everybody, welcome to another World of Tanks replay, and here we have a match with Chili Rabbit playing the Leopard Prototype A on Overlord. Now, the Leopard Prototype A gets a fair bit of flack. It lacks the 10 degrees of gun depression of the Tier 10 Leopard. It only has 6. Obviously, being a Leopard, it has no armor. Its mobility is pretty good, its gun's good, but the reload's a little on the long side for something with no armor. It's not seen in a very favourable light when compared to, say, the Centurion or the M46. But it does still have good mobility, and it does still have a very good gun, which allows it to do some quite impressive things. Straight away, Chili Rabbit heads towards the centre of the map. So, unlike in my replays, you will actually get to see areas of the map other than the eastern side. And he actually goes for a quick spot on the enemy team as they're leaving their base. He's able to see one of the 183s and gets a quick shot in. Thankfully, the 183's shot falls short. By the time he's reloaded, it's already moved into cover, but at least he got that one shot in while he could. He's unable to see anything else in the enemy base from this position, and there's a friendly E5 rolling up behind him, and you can see the camera doing some interesting things here. I don't think these were actually Chili Rabbit's doing. I think this is just a replay system playing up, which it tends to do quite often now. The 183 actually rolls up the left side of Chili Rabbit, and now there's heavy tanks coming from every direction. The enemy IS-3 goes down to the E100, to Chili Rabbit's left. And he begins to work his way up towards the windmill to see what he can find up here. In fact, he finds the enemy T-54 Model 1, which actually looks very, very similar to a T-44. At a glance, they're difficult to tell apart. With the help of the friendly chasseur de char, he's able to finish it off. And then he rolls onto the top of the hill to try and spot. He also manages to get a good flank on the C-75. And gets a quick shot in. Now, interestingly enough, the enemy team have pushed the beach en masse. Now, it's never a good idea, but obviously they figured that it would somehow work, I guess, because most of Chili Rabbit's team is posted up in the middle of the map. Cautiously, Chili Rabbit peeks around the corner here. He doesn't see anything at first, but sure enough, here comes a 183 and a T-69. He goes to the more dangerous target, which scoots on past, and then looks for shots on the autoloader, who pulls back into cover, obviously awaiting support, which then arrives in the form of a Tiger II. The chasseur de char turns up to help Chili Rabbit out, and then Do's able to get a shell into the side of the E100, who stops in the open. Meanwhile, Chili Rabbit's team is starting to spread out quite badly, and that is never good news. The enemy E5 makes a push for the cap, and is firing heat at a Leopard prototype. What a champion. I could probably count on one hand the number of times I've ever shot heat rounds out of my E5 at anything, much less an unarmored Tier 9 medium, but I guess that guy just needs it, because aiming is hard. 215B drives ponderously up towards the cap, which allows Chili Rabbit to get some shots in. The E5 is still firing heat, this time at the chasseur de chat. This E5 is really, really fucking bad if he has to shoot heat at completely unarmored tanks. Meanwhile, the friendly E100 is holding the corner against the Tiger II and T69. The T69 knows what's good for him and begins to run, but unfortunately for him, he does so too late. And as Chili Rabbit manages to track him in the open, he is pretty much done, except for the fact that the E100 just bounced off of him and the JP100 hit the wreck in front of his face. T69 gets shot into Chili Rabbit's ammo rack, which he repairs, while the enemy E100 takes out the friendly E100. Just desserts for managing to bounce off a fucking T69 at that range. Chili Rabbit loads the heat round for the E100, knowing that it's probably going to show in the front of its turret, and at this angle he would have a much better chance penning with heat than APCR. And as he gets a shot into it, he's now sitting on 5,500 damage, which is a pretty fucking solid game in a tier 9 medium. He's not done yet though, and while the friendly AT-15 hides behind a rock way overextended, Chili Rabbit and the JP-100 go to try and clear out their base. The E-100 backs down the ramp, while the E5 turns to engage Chili Rabbit and puts yet another heat shell into him, this time going into his ammo rack. Now he's already repaired it once, so he's now got to deal with 20-second reloads for the rest of the match. Luckily the enemy E100 doesn't want to push him, while the JPE is still lurking about, and so he is able to deal with E5 without worrying about it. The E5 gets one final heat shell off before going down. Obviously, skill ammo wasn't enough to save him. The friendly Conk and AT-15 are both near the enemy base, but they're both pinned down rather severely. In fact, the Conk is pinned by a JT and a Conway, as well as the T-95. With E-100 still up, Chili's got to find a way to deal with it. The JP is trying to flank around, but the JP is very, very low in health. Chili's round bounces, and so he pulls back into cover for his reload and lets the JP-100 work its way around the back. It bounces off the side of the E-100's turret, but it does get its attention, and so Chili Rabbit is able to get a shot through the side of the turret. Wrong kind of rodent. Presented with the front of the T-95, Chili hasn't got much chance of getting a shot through it at this range, and so he decides to disengage and head around it, which is always the best way of dealing with the T-95. Unfortunately, the friendly Conk goes down, but all is not yet lost. There's still 6 minutes in the game, and although Chili's lost his ammo rack and he's one-shottable for any of the remaining enemy tanks, he has mobility on his side. Taking care not to pop up directly in front of the Conway and JT, Chili goes for the T-95, and is able to find it with its back turned and finishes it off. There's no sense pushing from a direction where the enemy already know you are coming from. And so Chile works his way back around to where the T-95 was previously aiming. And with any luck, the Conway and JT will still be aiming towards the west, expecting him to come up from the direction of the AT-15. Friendly JPE begins working his way along the east road, but it's going to take him a while to get there. And here the hedgerows and berms around these fields give Chile a great advantage. He's able to spot the Conway. Although he gets spotted in return, he's already in cover by the time they can react. And at this point it's safer to wait for the AT-15 and JPE to move up than to try and push and get shots himself. Chile pops up again to try and spot the enemy. Once again the Conway's lit, as is the Su-14. Now the JP goes down to the JT. But the AT-15 is now moving in towards the enemy cap, and should hopefully provide a distraction. Chile takes a blind shot at the Conway's last seen position. Meanwhile the AT-15 goes down, but does get a shot into the JT. And now it's 3-on-1. There's no point sticking around here when the enemy already know to aim this way, and so once again Chile moves a little further down in the field, spots the Conway, and is able to get a lucky shot into it before it can fire at him. Once again, taking the long way around to try and confuse the enemy. The JT's only got one shot left in him, and the Su-14 will die in a single high roll or 2 average rolls. JT's spotted with its side turned, and it's all over for him. Now, Chile could just rush straight in at the Su-14, but that would be a very dangerous proposition, and he would basically be playing the RNG game of whether it could shotgun him or whether it would miss. Instead, he waits for it to lose its sight of him, then backs away, and once again takes the long way around. There's still 1:30 left in the game, so there's no reason to rush. The enemy arty's lit once again, and Chile gets a high roll to take it out with one shot. Great use of the Leopard prototype's mobility, good use of the map in general, an absolutely fantastic carry. Hope you enjoyed the video, thank you very much for watching, and as ever, I'll see you on the next one.